First and foremost, building a strong and committed team was number one, having the right people. Secondly is to have ownership and everybody committing to owning a part of their roles and responsibility moving forward, and also very, very open and ongoing feedback and communication with the team. Those are key things that we hit in this phase.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to talk about navigating a turnaround. Every company goes through tough times. Even the ones that are doing really well, they're in hyper growth mode. They're probably burning at some level inside their culture, or something's not right because chaos creates, or growth creates chaos, if you will. When you think about your own company, you might be facing headwinds with this market economy. Maybe there's some uncertainty in your industry. Maybe AI's, impacting your business in a major way. And so you have to navigate a turnaround. Well, today we have a special guest with us. She is the CEO of Azira. They are a global customer data market software system that allows brands to get insights around their customer, and it really is incredible how they're using AI to make a difference and make that data usable for their clients and for their team. But Gladys and I got a chance to dive into navigating a turnaround. And she had to go through chapter 11 with her business. She was the COO. And then the board asked her to step in as CEO as they, initiated this turnaround. And what we talk about today is some of the key aspects of that. Now, you may not be going through as difficult a turnaround, but these are all key aspects that I would recommend for you. Now, there's more to it than we got to today, because today was a short interview. It was about 20 minutes, but it really will help you figure out what's important as you navigate a turnaround of your own, turn that into a growth opportunity. Hi, my name is Gene Hammett. I am an executive coach. We do leadership development with companies that have an opportunity in front of them. And what they know that they've got to do something different. They've got to align at a deeper level. They've got to optimize their executive leadership team. And maybe they even have to create a better way to turn managers into leaders. Now, we do coaching at all levels of the company. We do CEO coaching, we do executive level coaching, and we do manager level coaching. And when you have coaching at all levels, you have something that will be a force inside the company for growth, for alignment, and you will really be able to move through all the headwinds that you have and navigate the turnaround. My name is Gene, and I've been doing this for about 12 years. And before that, I've been doing strategic work for a long time. But I love to help companies that have an opportunity in front of them. And so if you're curious about how we could help you, or just get clear about what's next for you, then let's hop on the call and have a conversation about what's going on in your business. Everything is customized and tailored to you. I don't have a PDF for you. I don't have a tool that you can just use and everything will be okay, because I don't know where you are, what the challenges are. But if you're curious about the conversation we would have, after I've been doing this for more than a decade, helping companies navigate through 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 100 million, 200 million sometimes, it really will help you get clear about what's next. Just go to gene@genehammett.com. That's my email address. It's nothing fancy. Just tell me that you've heard me on the podcast. You'd like to talk about your own business, your own strategy. My promise to you is not to sell anything to you, but is to create more clarity and a plan moving forward, and to prioritize this, and to give you insight about how to move forward in a way that makes this possible and makes you have the kind of business that you enjoy leading and owning. So just email me, gene@genehammett.com. Now here's the interview with Gladys Kong. Gladys, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Gene?
I am fantastic. We're going to have a great episode on the podcast today. Before we dive into this, I'd love to hear about your company, Azira.
All right. Azira is a global consumer insights platform. We help marketing and operational leaders improve efficiency by providing actionable intelligence to drive business results. So we work with a lot of tourism destination, quick serve restaurants, retail brands, and media companies. Let me give you an example. For instance, we work with a destination marketing organization like Visit San Antonio. What we do is we help them put together profiles of their visitors that would help improve effectiveness of their targeting in their advertising. And then we provide attribution reports to show them the ROI of their marketing spend. So our vision is really to help companies make better decisions in this data-driven age.
Absolutely love this. I know that a lot of companies are using AI, and I guess I'm just curious, how have you guys decided to leverage AI with your company right now?
AI is, when we work with so much data, AI is fundamentally to us machine learning, how to optimize on campaign performance, how to optimize on driving results. So we do a lot of different types of machine learning to drive better business outcomes for our customers.
Well, I want to dive into really what we came here to talk about, which is about creating, a strong, committed team. But really, it's about turning around challenges, into growth. When you mentioned challenges to my team, what were we talking about?
Well, we had a turnaround situation. Azira is formed out of acquiring assets from a company that went through Chapter 11. So from picking up from that challenging phase to turning the company into a stable company and then growing again is the challenge that we face. And we were very fortunate in the short 9 months, we were able to turn it around from exiting Chapter 11 to where we are growing again strongly.
Now, I don't want you to throw stones at anything, but if you look back at some of the things that got you into Chapter 11 as a company, what are the things that stand out that maybe others can relate to?
Well, we had a management team that perhaps was focused on the wrong thing and not focusing on our core values today, which is to generate the best outcome we can for our customers, caring for our customers, and really to have ownership of what we do and be a responsible and collaborated team working together. So those are things that I think we're missing and that cost the company not do so well and enter into Chapter 11.
And I don't know much about the story, but I know you told me a little bit. You were the COO of the former company, and then the board asked you to become the CEO. Did you install a completely new management team?
Yeah, mostly. To go through that transition, obviously, we run the risk of losing a lot of key talent, but we try to maintain most of them by having active conversation with them to making sure that they understand our true North Star vision and also what are the opportunities and what does the road ahead look like for them. And we were able to attract new industry experts into joining the company, which was very fortunate on our part. And that's how we moved from the challenging phase into this growth phase again.
Attracting new talent is so important in this day and age. Are you guys, I know for a while there, it was really hard to find the talent. It seems like things have shifted a little bit now that if there are chances for talented people, are you guys able to still attract new talented people given the company?
Yeah, we have been very fortunate in attracting well-respected industry experts to join us. And that was the key to, I would say, our success in this turnaround is the ability to continue to bring in talent.
Let's dive into this turnaround thing. We get it. Something happened. You have to step in as the CEO of this new brand. What are the key principles that you think are important as you guys really wanted to capitalize on the opportunity and grow from it?
I would say a few things. First and foremost, building a strong and committed team was number one, having the right people. Secondly, is to have ownership and everybody committing to owning a part of their roles and responsibility moving forward. And also very, very open and ongoing feedback and communication with the team. Those are key things that we hit in this phase.
I want to focus on the last two there. The first one, ownership. I have done a lot of conversations on this podcast. I know you haven't a chance to listen to all of them, but I know you've listened to a few. Gladys, thank you for being a listener of the show. But you actually, when I have interviewed so many people, ownership is a key aspect. And it may not be for everyone to feel like owners, but what do you guys do that you feel like makes the most impact as it relates to the people feeling of ownership about their work and about their experience while they're there?
Right. So we spend a lot of time making sure the team understand our vision and our shared goal. I would never underestimate the power of making people feel ownership of the shared vision, that's in the shared future. That's very important. And at every step of the way, we make sure the team is aware of where we are heading and that what role they play and also what they need to do to help us succeed. And we also make sure that they are aware that they are a critical part of our success.
Now, Gladys was talking about ownership. Now, I've spent a lot of my time understanding companies about what drives ownership. And I'm going to just give you a few things that you want to get right. One of them is mission. Mission is a big idea inside the business. It's a short statement, but it should inspire your employees to want to be a part of your company. Now, if you don't have a mission, you want to make sure that you spend a little bit of time with you and your executive team, or maybe even some key leaders across the company if you believe in collaboration like Gladys does. And you want to make sure that you have a mission that inspires people that are there, but also inspires people that you want to attract. And that will create a sense of ownership. Another area is growth. If employees are not growing, they don't have a sense of ownership at the level they could. But if they feel like they're learning new things, if they're getting skills, if they're more valuable in the marketplace, they will feel that sense of ownership. Now, there's a many other of these. If you want the other four, just send me an email, gene@genehammett.com, and you can send, just put in the subject line, 6 principles of ownership. I've got a little presentation. I'll give it to you. And with a slide deck, give you everything you need to understand it more so that you can move forward and create more ownership in your company. Now back to Gladys. I noticed your values being behind you. One of them is ownership and another one's transparency.
Mm-hmm.
I have done this research. I have done, spoken on stages and really looked at the keys to ownership. And transparency is one of the key principles that drives a feeling of ownership. When you look at transparency, how do you frame that in? Because what I've always thought is there's a transparency line. This is okay to share, and this is not okay to share. How have you kind of wrestled with your own transparency line in your culture?
So we have regular town halls where nothing is off limit. I actually asked the team to submit questions ahead of time, and we also have real-time Q&A in which they know when they ask questions, I will answer them truthfully and also transparently. So that built a culture of, look, if they ask me something that is inappropriate, I will also answer that it's not appropriate to answer. For instance, someone's personal reason why they're not here, someone's, there are questions that are not appropriate for that platform, and I would be transparent about that as well. But generally, we have this culture of participating I myself act as an active part of the team, that I would be asking questions as well, and also making sure that I follow on the team's requests.
Transparency for me is such a powerful tool, and it's free. But it requires us to wrestle with what could we share to others. But the way I've always framed it in my speeches and in content we create is when you have remarkable transparency, people feel like they're owners. They feel like they're on the inside to what's going on. And I've asked many people the same question, and they've come back and said, every time we've shared the bad news that is scary to share with employees, they've rallied for us. Have you noticed the same thing when you share the doubts or we don't know what's next, that people will rally for you?
Yeah, I think the most scary part of any journey is when you don't see something coming and it hits you and you don't know where it came from. So understanding that we're trying to let the team know the path ahead all the time. And especially coming out of our challenging situation, we want to make sure that good news or bad news, we let them know. And because they know something bad could happen, they're more prepared for it, they appreciate it more, and they're more invested in the joint outcome. So I do agree with you that that having transparency and that actually rallies a team and making sure that they are part of it with us.
Side note, when you were talking about that, I thought about my son's conversation with me a couple of years ago. He's 17 now, and he's like, Dad, treat me like an adult. And we can't always do that with our kids, but he wants to know. He doesn't want to be kept in the dark. But all too often, we don't really share fully with the team members that are most important, that can help us actually rally through a strategy or through a tough time. And I guess what your experience is, and it's one of your key values, is it's just a part of your culture now. And I'm sure it's something that you are proud of and they're proud of because you're more transparent than most organizations.
Yeah, till today, our town halls have open Q&A. or
Yeah.
submit the questions ahead of time. And we can see the change from having a whole list of page of questions to now one or two. So we can see the progress and people feel more comfortable in that we're sharing a lot of information with them.
Fantastic. So we've been talking about, navigating a turnaround and to make it into a growth opportunity for a business. You guys went through chapter 11, you've done this. And one of the things you mentioned earlier, Gladys, was feedback.
Mhm.
I can assume what feedback is. I also know that a lot of people that are listening in here goes, well, what kind of feedback are you talking about that really created the kind of team you wanted? So how do you describe that feedback?
So I look at having open feedback and conversation is a way of taking the team's temperature on whether we are having their buy-in, whether we are addressing their concerns adequately, whether they have enough information to understand the vision of where we're heading, etc. So we do a number of like Q&A is a way to gauge if they have questions. Also, we do survey for the employees to participate to see if there are areas that we do better. For instance, are we doing better in transparency? Are we doing better in ownership, in innovation? Just based on our values, we do survey to really check with the employees where we stand on each of them.
When you look at that survey data, and again, I'm not looking for the dirty secrets of your company,
Mhm.
but like, what do you notice that might be not so obvious as an indicator for success or that things aren't going well?
Well, for one, if you don't have enough participation, that's not great. That means people don't feel safe, number one.
Yeah.
If you have enough participation, then you look at what is being said in the survey. And we actually feel that it was very helpful to know that sometimes it's really obvious, right? In the survey that we did, we actually received really high score on transparency because that's really where we focus on. And we didn't receive such a great score on innovation because we were really in triage mode. We were not really in long-term innovation mode. So the employees picked up on that and then let us know that.
That's a good point. When you're in survival mode, it's hard to be innovative.
Yes. So,
uh,
but we also know that's important to employees. So it's important to see that.
Absolutely. I told you I would work this in here. I've got in the neon, if anybody's watching the video, tough conversations. Looking back over, this journey of turnaround, how did you engage in tough conversations? I'm not looking for you, no specific names or anything like that, but I'm just like,
Mhm.
when you had a tough conversation, did you let it sit for 3 months? Because I know a lot of CEOs don't want to engage in conflict.
No, my style is very much about being polite but direct. I feel the way I show respect for people is to really say what I meant and wanted to say in a direct but professional manner. And so I try to approach that tough conversation with that, where I would try to convey my point in a way that is not sugarcoating, not beating around the bush, but really get to the point in a like I said, a professional manner.
Now, Gladys is talking about tough conversations, and she said, be polite but direct. I 100% agree with this. You want to be direct with your employees. You don't want to beat around the bush. You don't want to, sugarcoat things and dance around these topics. You want to be direct, but you can also be too direct. And so being polite means that you can come in with respect. You can come in with a chance to give them a voice inside of this issue, especially if it's the first time. I created a few tools inside of our book, How to Have Tough Conversations, that would help you with this. And if you want to, buy it wherever you buy books, check it out. You'd love it. If you don't want to buy it, then send me an email, gene@genehammett.com, and I will give it to you for free. But I really want you to understand the power of tough conversations and why you as a leader want to get better at this skill, because it is required and it's all about leadership. And leadership is about relationships. Just keep that in mind as you move forward. Back to Gladys. I'm going to send you a copy of my book because you've been on the show and you haven't read the book. Because I
No,
haven't sent it to you yet. But what is your one piece of advice about tough conversations that you constantly share with your team that would help us today?
I would say listen to yourself once before you actually have that conversation, because then you can feel what would be the perception from the other side, what you're trying to say, and maybe adjust accordingly. So I would make sure people sometimes they want to try to get their point across, but not thinking about how it would be received. So I think it's really important we think about the person on the receiving end of the conversation.
Absolutely. One of the things that we put in the book, and my wife was a kind of engineered this because she was my co-writer, is a lot of people overestimate that the reaction is similar to how they would react to feedback, which is not always the case. Sometimes you have people that are defensive. Sometimes you have people that cry.
Yeah.
And we may not do that because of, for whatever reason. But I also know, I also have to remind people of this, that those tough conversations are so important to leadership because it's really about relationships.
Yes.
And you want to make sure that you're having them. I love the polite and directness of that you mentioned, because you've got to be polite, but you also have to sometimes say it so that it can't be misunderstood. I just wanted to kind of highlight a little bit of that. Gladys, we've been talking about, the turnaround and turning that into a growth opportunity. Is there anything I've left out that you feel like is important to this conversation?
I would say maybe one point that I want to make is turnaround is about two things, right? One is you got to stabilize. So that was the triage mode that we talked about. But once we get to that point, we need to transition the team from thinking about, what fire to put out today to really visualizing and implementing our future. And letting the team know that we are investing in the long-term success of the company and we're investing, that pivotal moment is important. And I think that was one I would like to at least talk about, that we went through that part and it was an important critical change in how we look at the business.
A lot of people see vision very differently. Some people see it as a vision statement. Some people see it as, it's a paragraph. Some people see it as a full-fledged, 5-10 page document. Where do you stand on the spectrum of vision?
I think vision has to be a little bit longer term, where the company will really stand on that vision, not just for this year, next year, but the future years. So it's a broader statement for us, but it's also the North Star, right? Our vision is to help companies make better decisions overall. But really today we're looking at helping companies make better decisions using data. But that ultimately is what we want to empower people to do, is to make better decisions. And I think that vision is broad enough for the company to grow in the next many years.
And I know that we talked about values again, but you didn't mention it. So I'm going to mention it for you. Having vision is great, but you recast the values of the new organization because you have a new set of team and you guys are going off in a new company name and everything like that. Mm-hmm. How did you actually come up with the values? If you can give me the broad strokes of that.
Yeah, and employee participation is key, right? It's one thing for me to come up with that, but to me, values and culture is not something we aspire to do, is what we do every day. So having employees come up with them and realize that's what we do. We really went through a lot of soliciting what the employees think we live by every day, and then kind of collaborating and putting that into 5 distinct values. You can see collaboration is one of the 5, and we do live that every day.
Love it. We've been having a great conversation, Gladys. I really appreciate your time here and your wisdom to talk about the turnaround and making it into a growth opportunity. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Jean. It was great having this conversation.
Wow, what a great interview. I love the sharpness of her answers, talking about transparency and talking about vision and talk about the feedback necessary in creating a strong, committed team. Navigating a turnaround is something that we all have to do as leaders. Maybe it's an innovative turnaround. Maybe it's something like what Gladys went through, but you want to make sure that you stand up strong as a leader, lead by example. If you have any questions about what's getting in your own way, maybe it's a blind spot, reach out to me. I'd love to help. Jean@jeanhammett.com. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.